Okay, I believe we are recording and we are live streaming now. So whenever you are ready, Chair McGriff, you may open the meeting.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 19th, 2021 Urban Renewal Commission meeting. We welcome everybody watching out in Zoom land, and good evening, commissioners. And we are calling the meeting to order, and I would like to have the roll call, please.
Yes, Commissioner Sean Cross.
Here.
Commissioner Doug Mealy.
Here.
Commissioner Frank O'Donnell.
Here.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Adam Morrow.
Here.
Commissioner Rachel Lyle Smith.
Here.
And Chair Denise McGriff.
I am here. So we have a number of items on our agenda tonight. Do we have any citizens waiting in the wings to speak to us? We did receive some correspondence, but I believe that pertains to the meeting that is going to occur after this.
Yes, we do not have anyone registered to speak tonight. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, so let's jump right in. We have about an hour. We have first item on the agenda is amending the commercial lease with L&B Station DBA Coasters Crossing. And would that be Mr. Graham?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Urban Renewal Commission, ladies and gentlemen, City Manager. Since June 2018, Coasters Crossing has been a tenant leasing approximately 2,000 square feet, rentable square feet. Now, the tenant is seeking to exercise its option provided in the initial lease. The existing lease allows the tenant to extend the lease for 5 years ending May 31st, 2026. The lease provides no further option to extend beyond that time period. And if you keep in mind, this lease actually dictates, the initial lease dictates what is to happen in the future if the tenant agrees or wants or seeks to extend the lease. So that's what I have.
I believe you submitted to us the existing lease and the revised lease.
Exactly.
Right, suggested lease. Do you have, would you like to add any more to that for the benefit of our listening audience as differences between those two?
Sure. The amended lease allows, as I said, allows the tenant to go 5 more years. So therefore, it dictates the next steps and what it is to cost. For instance, in 2021, the annual base rent is about $27,600. In year 2022, the base rent goes up to $28,800. And then in 2023 through 2025, it's $30,000 each year. That's a total of $90,000 during that period. That is what the initial lease dictates if the tenant sought an extension. That's the long and short of it.
Okay, commissioners, are there any questions for Mr. Graham? And is Mr. Graham, is Coasters Crossing on the call with us this evening?
I don't see them. I asked them, I talked to them about being here and they said they would, but I don't see them.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Graham?
I got a question, I guess. What is our action supposed to be, I guess?
That is outlined in the commission report on page 2. There are 2 options. Do you have that in front of you?
No.
Option 1 is to approve the tenant's option to extend the existing lease for an additional 5 years. Or option 2 is to negotiate the termination of the initial lease agreement. So again, I will call for any questions, or is there a motion?
If I might, another question. Has there been anybody interested in the property?
Mr.
No.
So Mr. Neely, if I may ask you a question. So did you receive the packet for this particular meeting?
I've had some problems with my email. In fact, I didn't even, I had to call in to get the Zoom. I've been having email problems.
Oh, okay. So you were unable to review this.
We'll be able to help out Commissioner Neely.
Right, we can help him, yes. Okay, commissioners, what is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion. Oh, looks like Commissioner O'Donnell has his hand up.
Oh, Commissioner O'Donnell, sir.
I'd like to hear again what the current monthly is, what the next month is. Looks like it goes to 2,300 and then 2,400 a month for years 3 through 5. What is the current lease?
In the year 2021, it's 27,600.
I'll have to do that because everything else in the report is stated in monthly. So now I got to break that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's a monthly. So 27,600. The monthly is 2,300,
What is it
22,300
currently?
a month.
Okay, what is the current lease?
The current lease is, I'll tell you in a second.
Yeah,
It's
I have it here in front of me.
2,000.
2,000?
Yes, 2,000. Yeah, 2,000.
What is the current rate of inflation, Mr. Graham? You and I have looked that up.
Current rate of inflation is 2.6%. But of course, it has gone up since I guess yes, since last month. So it's 4.2% now.
I mean, I don't have any problem with the first year's increase, but after that, it's a marginal increase and we don't control inflation at that point. I'm fine with the 2021 amount. I think that the others ought to be subject to inflationary rate in effect at that time, subject to review.
Well, the existing lease, the existing initial lease basically dictates the various increases. So therefore, you really don't have the option to change it.
What do you mean, the existing lease right now?
Yes.
Yes, that's what the executive summary on the report says. The tenant is seeking to exercise its option provided in the initial lease. And that's all spelled out in the lease.
Yes, on page 2, under C, it says as long as tenant is not in default under this lease at the time of exercise, landlord hereby grants tenant an option to extend the lease one time for a period of 5 years, which is called the extended term. And then in paragraph D on the same page, it basically says that if tenant exercises its option as provided in section 2C above, the base rent for the extended term shall be as follows. For year 1 of the extended term is $2,300 per month. For year 2, the extended term is $2,400 per month. And for years 3 through 5, the extended term shall be $2,500 per month.
Okay, well, it doesn't look like there's much to talk about then. Thank you.
I think, as I recall, when we entered into this agreement for leasing this property, we had been, we had a business in there that was not successful. This was one of the first investments of a restaurant kind of in that further north of Abernethy Creek. There were significant commercial upgrades for the restaurant use in that facility. So part of that negotiation for the tenant taking on those improvements, vast majority of those, and they've been a good tenant in upkeeping that building and working with us, was the longer term ability, if they were able to be successful at that location, to be able to maintain there with some certainty over a longer term. I think that if I'm recalling correctly, that was the history of getting into that building.
You are recalling correctly.
That was in 2018, as I recall.
Oof,
Regardless.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm looking at on the lease. It's dated June 1st, 2018.
Yeah, and I agree, Mr. Conkle. You are recalling correctly. I have no issues with this tenant. They've done a stellar job of making it a viable business. So let's proceed.
So Mayor Lawsmith, you're about ready to make a motion. Are you ready to come back to that again, please?
Sure. I'll make the motion to approve the tenant's option to extend the existing lease term for an additional 5 years.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cross, moved by Commissioner Mayor Lyle Smith. Let's call for the question.
Yes, so Commissioner Rachel Lyle Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Adam Marl,
Yes.
Commissioner Sean Cross. I think that was a yes, right?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Rocky Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Doug Neely. And Doug, I muted you, sorry. So let me ask you to unmute. Can you unmute and state yes, please? Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you. And then Commissioner Frank O'Donnell
Yes.
and Chair Denise McGriff.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Next on our agenda, we have the update from our consultants, Leland Consulting, and I see Sam is on the call as well as Andy Parks. And we have next steps under current contract. Mr. Graham?
You're muted, James. James, you're muted. Sure, that was the best opening ever.
On April 19, 2021, the Oregon City Urban Renewal Commission discussed the direction of urban renewal based on the findings of the ongoing urban renewal study. Now, during the meeting, Leland Consulting Group and commissioners discussed several important issues, including findings from the outreach to urban renewal opponents, which led to a lengthy discussion of URA-owned properties, the city charter, and other elements. And we also discussed the advantages and disadvantages and financial implications of a variety of options for the district. Now, although there was no official vote at the time, the commission, with regard to specific use of the urban renewal, decided to move forward and to discuss further options. And this is the day that the consultants will provide and discuss those options with you and other elements of the subject matter. So I will turn this over to.
If I could just add before we turn it over to Sam real quick. You know, when we have been working with Leland and, you know, really, you know, there's one contract for work from inception through the public participation, the Urban Renewal Commission discussion, and then we're at this point where we need some direction in terms of, you know, is the decision to go down the path of closing the district, or is the decision to go down the path of we want to continue to look at how the urban renewal plan can be amended, updated, and move forward. And, you know, what we were hearing at the last discussion, what we're going to summarize today, was it sounded like there was interest in talking about how do we, that there's support in keeping the district open in some form. And I think we're at that step now where we're to that decision point in our work, because they go in two different directions and require two different types of analysis and work. Shut it down versus keep it open and update the plan, look at the project list, look at the financials, everything that would go into updating an urban renewal plan. And so I think that's what we're trying to get to tonight, as well as making sure we heard at that last meeting what how we would like to move forward.
So I would concur with that, that summation. However, I would like to be a little more direct and say that I went over my notes from our last meeting, and we basically discussed that we were going to look at next steps for moving forward. There wasn't any real discussion, or at least substantive discussion, that ended in our general agreement about closing the district. What we talked about was, particularly with Commissioner O'Donnell's assistance, looking at how we can prioritize our next actions, looking at doing some editing to the plan. In addition, we were going to maybe not fully discuss that tonight, but we need to come up with a vision for the plan, which I believe we all felt was needed to be revised. And then a further discussion down the road would be potentially whether we're going to reallocate a greater share of the taxes to overlapping districts. And we were going to focus on a planned approach to this. So we've kind of got a couple of steps we need to have. We move forward, we're moving forward with a vision, and we're looking at how the plan needs to be edited. And I, facetiously said last time that I had gone through the plan and I had made some suggestions for edits. I've not forwarded that to Mr. Graham yet. It's still sitting over on my work area, but just some things that would not substantively change the plan, but there were some actions like, yes, we need to move the railroad depot. Well, we've done that. We need to update that and say, that has been done and here's what we're doing. So there's a lot of projects in the plan and information in the plan that's probably, I don't know, Tony, would you say 5 or 10 years old? That
at least
circumstances have changed, and those paragraphs and things of that sort need to be tweaked. So that is what I'd like to see us move forward with our discussion after Sam makes some remarks. So Sam, take it.
I think we have Commissioner O'Donnell's hand was up.
Oh, yes, Mr. O'Donnell, sir. Sorry, I missed your hand.
Well, my summary is it differs from Mr. Conkle's, but I don't. First of all, I don't think we're at a decision point on closing the district or leaving it open. The things we didn't answer, which I think, Chair, you just summarized very well, is do we close? Do we continue to collect the TIF at the current rates? Do we not collect it at all for some period of time? Do we collect it at a reduced rate? I mean, these are all budgetary discussions that go to the future of the district in its entirety. And also the part that I had a discussion with Mr. Conkle, I'm not sure if he has the exact answer, but we're talking about, this commission approved phase 1 of the contract with Leland, which was in the amount of $83,000. And I don't know if I understood correctly, but there's a phase 2, which should be some additional expenditure, which I do not believe this commission approved. And I don't know what that amount is, because whatever it is may be buried under either administrative expense or legal. So I think tonight we're going to end up discussing, and it involves Leland, is, what do they propose in phase 2 and what would it cost? And is that something we want to pursue and direct the city manager to do that or don't do that? So as I said, my take is somewhat different than Tony's and more aligned with your own.
Yeah. So let me update, because I had a chance, Commissioner O'Donnell, after talking with James Graham of where we were at. And the Urban Renewal Commission approved the Leland contract for approximately $82,000. And that was for the entirety of the work, from the beginning, public participation, to where we're at now, and then moving forward in updating a plan that can be adopted. So that is the entirety of the contract. Internally, we saw a natural break at some point of, are we going to keep the district open or are we going to close it? And there's essentially two parts to the contract. One is the total amount to update the plan to something that can be approved by the Urban Renewal Commission as the new Urban Renewal Plan. The second option, which is less expensive, is the close the district route. So whether, at some point we'll get the Urban Renewal Commission will get to a decision of which route to go down. If that makes sense. But so I was incorrect when I was speaking with you earlier. There is no additional funds to complete the urban renewal plan work necessary.
Okay, so of the 82,000 that we've committed to this, there's still deliverables due to us from
Correct.
consultant, but there is nothing in this budget that involves phase 2 or funding thereof, no additional monies.
In the urban renewal proposed budget for the next
Yes.
biennium, that
Yes.
is correct.
Okay, that clarifies our earlier discussion. Thanks.
Yeah. Did everybody understand that? Just nod if you did. Okay. Just want to make sure that we're all playing with the same deck of cards as we move forward. So Sam, why don't you go ahead if you have some remarks for us this evening?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner McGriff. I should quickly just add, as a thank you for those clarifications, Commissioner O'Donnell. That's helpful. I think for everybody on the call here. I should say that when we were scoping this out, this project, the full understanding of what might go into revising this plan wasn't yet known, right? That was what the first phase, if I'm trying not to confuse terminology here, but the first piece of this project was the engagement piece, was to try and figure out what direction was. So as we go through this discussion, we will be talking about certain things that we will be proposing to do over the next month or two in helping to implement any revisions to the plan or anything that might be wanted or needed. That's not to say that it is absolutely nailed on and certain that everything that the Commission wants to do will be able to be covered under that budget. So I hope that's clear. Just to manage some expectations here. So with that said, I'm just going to share a quick few slides that we put together just to kind of guide this conversation. And so the key piece of this is really identifying some of the action items for us as the consultant team for what we're really calling the implementation phase of this study within that contract. So we'll quickly recap some of the things we heard, and very consistent with everything we've heard so far. So I'll move quickly through those, and then laying out a couple of options for next steps. So just to give you a quick overview there, we're in the end here, and we've got a decision in that third piece of that little flow chart, but no official decision we understand has been made, but we, as Tony mentioned, we sort of hit a T-junction or a fork in the road here, and I think we're naturally moving towards revisiting the plan, as Commissioner McGriff said as well. So quick recap of last meeting. As far as what we heard, there was a general consensus, as far as we heard, that the Commission wishes to proceed with urban renewal in some state, and that might entail or should entail revisiting the vision, figuring out what that means in terms of what is urban renewal to Oregon City and the commissioners, and what it means for some of the urban renewal owned properties as well. Also establishing some of the priorities. So I think that probably comes in under that vision piece as well. We originally, the 2007 plan laid out this area as an employment area. I think some of the thinking has been shifting a little bit more residential. Next, we also talked about prioritizing actions that could be made through minor amendments as opposed to substantial amendments. So just to maintain that level of efficiency, make sure we're moving quickly. That might mean changing some of the projects or revisiting the projects, making small adjustments to the boundary, and then those general text edits as well. Then there's focusing on the project-based approach. And in that, there is that focus on quick wins, things that we can move quickly with including the urban renewal owned properties. So we heard a number of questions that we answered in that memo that was distributed, and that there were 5, 3 of which could be answered quickly. 2 might require some further analysis that we are happy to do under this contract. So the first, really, if we were to take this out to the vote, what would it look like? What's the likely timeline for revisiting the plan or revising the plan with those minor amendments? The financial implications of both adding a termination date, but also of the substantial amendment. And then the impact of the downtown area. So having some understanding about what the financial implications of downtown currently are on tax increment, but also what would happen if that area were to be removed. I think that specifically came from, I can't remember, but so there's a few things here that I think that will need to be addressed in order to tee up the commission in moving forward and revisiting the plan. I think that at the very highest level, there is the issue of debt within the city charter, yes, but also matters such as de jure borrowing that we covered briefly. So we talked about this, Andy and I, and he can weigh in a little bit as well on the matter of engaging a bond counsel to help the commission understand some of those debt-related matters. A bond counsel would help review the legal situation and present some of the available financing options and special considerations and ongoing legal implications of the litigation and appeal. We also propose updating some financial projections, so assisting you all in your understanding of the financial capabilities of the agency there as well. An important piece here is to do with project costs, and so it's important to note that the projects in the 2007 plan were costed out based on 2007 numbers, and they were not inflation adjusted. So within the current maximum indebtedness of 130 million, which was also in constant 2007 dollars, it should be noted that not all elements of the plan would be likely in 2021 under that current maximum indebtedness. So we propose looking into that, exploring those things, so we can really prioritize the things that are most important. So it's basically the crux of that is probably not all projects in the plan that are currently not completed will be able to be completed within the maximum indebtedness. So that's basically what I'm saying. So there'll need to be some level of prioritization. And then in terms of just the project planning, so assisting with that means maybe drafting some additional project scopes. And so, I mean, with that, it's specifically to do with urban renewal properties. So that might be thinking about what it might cost to conduct studies into those properties. I know Tony had mentioned engaging an architect, but also you could look at feasibility studies, conceptual drawings, developer solicitation, and what that scope for conducting those efforts might look like. And so, recognizing the desire to move quickly here, I think developing an actionable plan and providing the guidance to undertake that effort is pretty much at the forefront of our minds at the moment. And then also, beyond this, so this is really understanding the bones of what it might take to revise the plan, the general text edits, the scoping of the projects. I would think that would be included in those things as well. And I think in terms of prioritizing projects, under the context of understanding what they cost, understanding the true financial implications, and being able to prioritize those based on a revised vision is pretty critical. And I know James has been looking at that vision and looking to revisit the vision for urban renewal, as well as looking at an evaluation framework for projects. So I think that fits within that this kind of conversation. So I think I might pause here and just allow James to speak, if you want to, James, for a few minutes about what you're doing currently and how that might fit into this.
Currently, looking at a framework for decision making, which includes a discussion about the vision of urban renewal, where you would like to take it. I have a proposed statement that I could share with you at a different point. But in addition to that, also a process by which decisions could be made. For instance, there very well could be a due diligence team comprised of experts, including a financial analyst from a firm, our finance department, an attorney who is versed at urban renewal, myself, and also, of course, from time to time, bond counsel. That due diligence team would accept applications, review those applications on behalf of the commission, and do all, as I said, all due diligence and financial analysis, submit a recommendation, and that type of thing. So that's a general framework. Obviously, it's not finished. There are criteria also that should be laid out in terms of what types of projects you would be interested in, whether or not they are housing, recreational, oriented, or other types of activity. But by and large, many of those projects will be based on a rate of return. And if there's to be public infrastructure, then that infrastructure would be there to support that private investment or rate of return. So that's just a general high level view of what we've been sort of working on in a draft format.
Is there anything else, Sam?
And I should say that both Leland and Andy have worked on similar efforts for other cities and other urban renewal authorities in evaluating projects in this way. So sometimes they can be more qualitative, sometimes they can be more quantitative, and actually have metrics and scoring criteria that allows agencies to compare apples to apples and in a very transparent way. Obviously, there are pros and cons to adding specific quantitative metrics to things. But I know Andy has also been continuing to be engaged in Bozeman, for example, following some of the work we did up in there for their urban or renewal authority as the financial expert as part of that due diligence team. So I think I just have one more slide. I'm gonna hand it off to Andy, and he can discuss whatever he wants to discuss with regard to that. But I think he was just gonna talk a little bit more about the debt related matters and a couple of the more financial public finance type things. Andy?
Yeah, hey Sam, thank you, and good evening, commissioners. Yeah, just a real high level, there has been some discussions related to debt definitions and whether the agency has issued debt, not issued debt, according to ORS. And I think there are really two types that are spelled out: issued debt, bonds, for example, bank loans, that type of thing, versus incurred. That would be, entering into a contract to buy a property with, urban renewal money, or just, money out of your bank account. Some issues that, certainly, Sam touched on, and why bond counsel, I think, is, important for you to get get legal advice there is whether the agency plans to issue debt or not, and that will impact the ability of the district to complete projects and the timing of those projects. A little bit of research on the type of debt that is available to Oregon City Urban Renewal. Certainly, the typical types you would expect, revenue bonds and bank loans, et cetera. But another type that's out there that may address, a situation that you find yourselves in, say with your current litigation, is the ability to pay general obligation debt with urban renewal tax increment dollars. In other words, you can seek voter approval for general obligation debt, get the best interest rates and terms, certainly with GO debt, and then pay that debt back with tax increment dollars. You mentioned just quickly the impact of issued debt on a plan implementation. The longer it takes to do these projects, obviously the more they're going to cost inflation wise, and the less that you'd ultimately be able to do without adjusting that maximum indebtedness. And also, the sooner projects get done, typically what we see is the growth rate in the taxable assessed value increasing, making it possible to do yet more projects in at a quicker pace. And then the timing of this potentially is related, is impacted by the pending appeal, and hopefully that's something that gets resolved fairly quickly. On another note, real quickly, we did hear some concerns related to the city's administrative costs and the urban renewal agency paying those. We certainly can take a look at the methodology and provide any feedback on that if that's something that you see as a need and a desire.
Okay, well, let me jump in here for a minute. We got a lot of information, but I think the real question on the floor is that as City Manager Uncle said, we did not take an official vote. And I would like to recommend that we do take an official vote on whether we're going to continue with the district or not. And the reason that I'm suggesting that is because without that vote, I don't believe we can move forward to answer some of the questions that Commissioner O'Donnell has raised, which is, if we don't have a district, I don't really want to spend any time looking at how we reallocate a greater share of taxes to overlapping districts. We don't have a conversation, and we will need analysis to do that. I support asking the question. We can't create a vision statement. We can't prioritize any further actions. So I really think that we've got a very simple question. And like I said, I went over my notes again just to make sure I wasn't misreading anything. And I also looked at our urban renewal meeting notes that we just got and from last week and looked to see if I was concurring with my notes. So I would entertain some discussion on my question to all of you. And I see a hand raised in my left-hand corner of the Hollywood Squares. Go ahead, Mayor Lyle Smith.
Thank you, Commissioner McGriff. I guess my question is specifically for Commissioner Smith and for the other commissioners to consider. So I think part of the concerns from both Commissioner Smith and I that we've had in the past, and we talked about this a lot when we campaigning, was about the vote. And so I guess my personal opinion at this point is that even if we vote to move forward with crafting a new vision because we believe urban renewal is a good tool that we want to use in the city, I think this commission should also consider whether or not to take that new vision back to the vote of the people, not, just to get input, not asking for charter revisions or not anything like that, just to get kind of their approval, given the fact that we have a vote on the record, even though we don't feel like the merits of the language of the vote were legal. I think it still reflected an opinion of the people that they weren't supportive of urban renewal. So I guess I feel like I'm trying to strike a balance between maybe we have a new message to share with the community, and we should work on that messaging, but at the same time, consider possibly putting something on the November ballot to ask the voters to reconsider and provide input.
I do not disagree with you. And before I call on Commissioner O'Donnell, I do not disagree with you on the first part. I think that we have to use a proverbial phrase, have our ducks in order before we take a message out to the public, which, again, as you stated, I had the same questions asked of me when I was running for office. You know, what was my concern about urban renewal? I laid out, you know, various points to members of the public and then in some of the forums about where I felt we needed to make improvement. And I was very demonstrative in my comments that I was interested in hearing from the public about it, but we also needed to make a framework for something to show the community so they had something to respond to. And at this point in time, we did not, at that point in time, we didn't have anything that we could respond to other than the old plan. And I said, you know, we are taking a look at that. So I think you are, again, I agree with you on the middle ground. I don't want us to in any way disregard what the public had to say with the vote. But I think we need to be clear and we need to clarify that, which is why I was saying, you know, in summary, to look at whether we want to continue, and then we can make the decision about what the messaging will be, how we're going to roll it out, all of that. I think we need to be very clear and direct to staff about where we want to go, at least in small steps. And I know they would certainly appreciate that. So Mr. O'Donnell, after saying all that, please go right ahead.
Well, Chair McGriff, I absolutely agree with the simplicity in the way you've formed tonight's question. Are we in favor of continuing the urban renewal district? That question can be answered separately from a question about what do we do with TIF and funding. I think that's a very cogent move forward. I think I agree with what Commissioner Rocky Smith said about there's a difference between can we do something or should we do something, and listening to the voters. I'm, as you know, I held the position that you currently hold, and I'm deeply immersed in this. If I look at the things that Sam said, you know, our debt currently, other than administrative and legal potential debt, is zero. The question of the definition of debt is a point of contention between those who oppose urban renewal and those who are in favor. Our financial projections, as point two, will be directly influenced by the TIF rate that we choose. And project costs. The problem with project costs is we haven't identified a project. And all the arguments that from the opposition have been, show me a project and put the project out there. And if I like it, I'll vote for it. And that includes those who are currently opposed to the way urban renewal is running, not the fact that urban renewal actually exists. The assistance with bonding and project planning. Well, first we have to have a project. So, you know, and that falls into the discussion of, do we want to do a piecemeal project or do we want to do a total, what do we want our city to look like under OC 2040? But perhaps there's a project we can select and put it before the electorate to get at least an advisory vote. And I think that currently when we start talking in terms of vision, a vision is too vague. Put something before the voters that said, this is what we propose to do as our first step. And I think we get definitive input. I know that the district is an underperforming district. I think it comes in around 4.5%. If you talk to Sam and others, I believe a performing district is above 7%. I know there's state limitations on things that impact our 3% maximum growth. But having said all that, I'll return to my first opening statement. I think the way you phrased the question tonight, do we wish to continue with an urban renewal district, is a valid question. And in its simplicity, it allows us to move on. The answer to that will allow us to move on. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Rocky Smith, sir.
So I'm struggling with this. I basically agree with most everything that everyone said. I guess the concern that I have is, this whole public process, in my mind, was to get an idea what the public really wants, and we still don't have any clue. And I worry that, I myself believe that urban renewal is a good tool. I also believe that we should be project oriented and that we need to have the projects drive what we're doing, not creating this, we're going to go forward and the projects will come to us. And so I worry that by just saying we right now are ready to go forward, still kind of just tells the public, well, we can do whatever we want, and really doesn't take into consideration that original vote. And so, it's kind of hard to deal with that. I have a hard time, I've pretty much voted no on everything just because of that vote of the public, not because I think, we should end urban renewal, but because I really want to find out what direction the public wants us to go. And I don't think we're any closer to knowing that. I believe that if we have a specific project at some point that we could go out and sell to the public, or to at least get the public involvement in, maybe we'd have a better chance at it. But, how much do we want to, how much of work do we want to do in that without basically, implying that we're moving forward no matter what? Because that's kind of what we would be doing.
Now, I really have to tell you that I disagree with you. As you know, being a planning geek person, we're doing a 2040 update plan. We are starting with a vision. That is where we need to go in order to help us create a pathway to a project. I think it is going to be absurd for us to pick a project out of the ether and say, oh, community, do you like this? They want to know what our vision is. They want to know what we are thinking, where we are going. And obviously, if I'm passionate about it, I am. We need to have a base, a foundation, in order to talk to the public to say, this is what we think. What do you think? Does this work for you? If they don't like our vision, they're going to, to tell us. And I think an advisory discussion is where we need to go. We cannot make all those decisions about a project until we create a roadmap to get there. And that is what I am asking. We need to vote whether we want to keep it. We create that. And I'm not talking about months. I'm talking about a matter of weeks or months, several months. We need to create the vision. We all need to agree what the plan is moving forward. But to do all of those other things that you would like, Commissioner Smith, we have no foundation. So we're like building a building on top of sand with no foundation. So we need to focus in on, are we moving forward? What is our vision? And then we can get into the details of all those other questions. And it's not going to take forever. Mr. Graham has already said he's already started working on an idea. So we're going to get that and we're going to react to it and say, yeah, you're right on, or no, our vision is here. So again, I'm trying to, because we've got 10 minutes, I'm trying to focus us down so that we can give direction to the staff to say, okay, we are moving forward. First action is we're going to create our foundation. Second action is going to be this. We have more time to talk about this. This was fundamentally the question that we were getting asked at our meeting day before yesterday. Well, what is our foundation? What is our vision? We don't know. Well, we don't have anything to tell people right now. And we have our own urban renewal budget committee that's a little bit in the dark and confused. And I hope some of them are listening tonight, so this might be helpful. So I saw Frank go up, Rocky next, and actually Rachel, and then Rocky. You guys you're moving around again. And this,
I didn't get my hand.
Again, be cognizant, we have 10 minutes. I would like to get a vote before 7 o'clock, please.
Could I just say one thing real quick? Commissioner Neely also wanted to say something.
I got him.
And just something to think about. I know one of the issues that have been raised as it relates to urban renewal in the past has been decisions made I think this is a great conversation, and if we can get some direction from it, I would really recommend that we put this on an agenda if we want to vote on something. Would just be my gut knowing. I don't want anybody to come back and say, oh, they made a vote without anybody knowing about it. I guess that would be my only caution. I appreciate where the conversation is going because it's really good for us to hear, to be able to bring you back what you need. But we can certainly bring that back.
But we can make a motion to that effect, Mr. Conkle.
Thank you.
Okay, go to my left, Mr. O'Donnell.
Well, once again, I say we can simply have a vote. Do we believe in urban renewal as a tool? Period. Now, the specifics of that, what this community objects to is the continued collection of large sums of money with no project. So basically, we could possibly have a discussion in our budget that says, what do we want to do about TIF? Do we want to put collection of TIF on hold or reduce it until such time as we come forward with a vote of the people? But tonight, we can accomplish a statement as to whether we believe in urban renewal as a tool. And I do want to say, I have listened to Mr. Cross and others, and he said about building a war chest. That's fine, but that's what the community objects to currently, and I understand his position. But tonight, I think we can simplify the question to, does this commission believe in urban renewal as a tool without making any other financial decisions? Thanks.
Mr. Neely.
I was just going to make a comment. I think we should continue it. One of the difficulties we've been talking in our sessions. We will need to have in my opinion, a day-long work session where we can discuss all these things that have come up. And so I'll make a motion to continue the urban renewal district.
Is there a second? Cross?
I'll second it, yeah.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Smith?
My discussion is that on that motion, I would vote no. On Commissioner O'Donnell's proposed motion, I would vote yes. Two different things.
Mr. Neely, do you want to have Mr. O'Donnell rephrase?
Yes, I'll withdraw my motion and let Mr. O'Donnell go ahead and make a motion.
Mr. O'Donnell, would you please make a motion?
Well, educate me on my own motion. What did I say? I thought I was saying continue urban renewal pending a discussion of the collection of TIF and the identification of a specific project to be put before the voters for approval.
That's not what you said.
What did I say? Tell me again.
It wasn't that detailed. We were just having a discussion. So Katie, would you roll the back, please? No,
the motion was just to, his motion was specifically to continue to use urban renewal as a tool. Do you want to
That's
continue
what
to
you
use
said.
urban renewal as a tool?
yes.
So the motion
that's
would
what-
be that you either move to continue to use urban renewal as a tool, or you move to not use urban renewal as a tool. So
Yes, it was that simple, Frank. So it didn't get into all the other things. So if you will make that motion, I'm going to go ahead and second it. I don't care. Chairs can make seconds.
Well, I would like to hear what Commissioner Rocky Smith's perception of the motion was.
You basically simplified it into saying that we as a commission agree that it is a good tool, not that we would move forward with it. That's how you stated it.
Okay, then I'll restate it. The motion is,
I guess my issue is, yes, I think it's a good tool. I don't think I'm ready to completely, I guess what I'm worried about is if we make a vote tonight on that, we're basically saying we're not leaving, we're closing that idea of even the option of closing the district. I'm not ready necessarily to do that. I think it's a good tool. I think we should move forward at some point. I don't think that's going to be tonight. So in general, if the motion is about continuing and making that decision yes or no tonight, then my motion would be, or my vote would be a no. If it was that we as a commission agree that urban renewal is a good tool, that's a whole different thing.
Mr. Smith, you're convoluting Mr.
Well, if you roll back the tape and actually listen to what
I know, we'll roll back the tape. I am trying
That
to
is what
make
Commissioner
a
O'Donnell
motion
said.
so that we can give staff direction on where we need the assistance. That is the key.
Well, even our own staff said they didn't want us to vote a yes or no tonight.
Well, we're making a very simple declaration as per Mr. O'Donnell's statement.
So is my statement that we agree as a commission that urban renewal is a good tool?
That's what I heard you say.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay. That should satisfy Mr. Smith too.
All right, Katie, would you call the roll?
Yes. So let's see here. Commissioner Rachel Lau Smith.
Come back to me. I'm gonna
Okay.
think about it. Can you clarify the motion? It's that we just think it's a good tool. That's what the motion is?
Yes.
Okay, this is kind of an absurd vote, but sure, aye.
Commissioner Adam Marl.
Aye.
Commissioner Sean Cross.
Aye.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Doug Neely.
Aye.
Commissioner Frank O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Chair Denise McGriff.
Aye.
Motion passes.
So staff, I think what I perceive as the direction is that we perceive that it is a good tool. We will come back at our next urban renewal meeting and have further discussion about and how we, again, vision document if that's it, or this or that. We can talk more as well. Does that totally muddy the waters, or is?
Well, yes, obviously I appreciate the vote and the direction. Sam laid out, I guess, were there any concerns about what we presented in terms of what we thought we heard from the commission? So Sam laid out some of the next steps of things that we would be focusing on. Is that stuff, did those seem appropriate for us to begin working on to help move this discussion along, or is there still more discussion that has to happen?
Can I just get a yes or a no? It's 6:58. So if your question, your answer is not a yes or a no, Doug, I'm going to skip you. Is it yes or a no from what Tony just said? We've got 2 minutes.
Well, I'll say yes, but.
Okay, yes, but.
Well, you said yes or no.
I know. I said yes. Okay. So Frank,
No.
Sean,
Yes.
Adam,
No.
Rocky,
No.
Carol Smith.
No,
Okay, well, I'm a yes. So
So it seems like then we'll bring back this similar discussion we had tonight to the Urban Renewal Commission to continue it.
okay, that sounds good to me. Sean, yes.
Can I suggest that we do this on a different night than the regular city commission so we can do this for more than an hour? Because this is going to take, as Commissioner Neely said, it's going to take hours to get through this, to actually have a discussion.
Is
Well,
there-
if we keep it focused and we don't let ourselves get off track, it won't take a jillion hours, but
Yeah, may I make a suggestion to
yes.
that people ought to send in what they want to individually, what they want to be covered at such a topic.
I think we have, when you get your computer set up, we have it laid out here in this April 19th document. We already have it. So you just need to get a hold of it, and Katie will try to send that to you again, and you can go over that again. We've kind of laid it out already. Anyway, it's the bewitching hour, and I don't want to delay our next meeting, and we have the minutes. Can we do that very quickly? Can we approve the minutes of the Urban Renewal Commission from our last 2 meetings? Everybody I don't think Doug's had a chance to look at them, but has everybody else had a chance to look at them? Yes or no? Okay, make a motion, please.
I can make the motion. I move to approve of both the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so as we've got approval of the minutes of Wednesday, April 21st and Monday, April 19th. Ms. Riggs, would you call the roll?
Yeah, can we just do by acclamation? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed
I abstain.
and one abstention. Any other abstentions? Okay, thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, and due to the bewitching hour, Mr. Conkle, do we have anything else?
Well, I guess I'd just like to revisit Commissioner Cross's question. Would the commission like to continue? Is the commission interested in us finding a date where we could spend more time working through this?
More
Yes.
than 1 hour? You mean like a 2 hour or 2.5 hour meeting?
Correct.
Would.
I saw 2, 3, Sean, yeah, 4. Okay, so it seems like thank you very much. We'll work on that.
Okay, all right, being no further business, thank you for your indulgence in my pushing this stuff through. It's to me, it's really important that we try to get through the items that we have and make the discussion meaningful. And I appreciate all of your comments and your support and your indulgence. So I would like to call the meeting adjourned.